think it's quite a good time, and I want you to know that, like, I walk into every situation with you where I'm giving a bit of the benefit of the doubt, and we do hope for quite human aspects of people we meet at LLDC, and for the ability to convert that humanity to good choices that we believe, and hopefully your goal is to, like, improve the area and improve London. Essentially, that's where our overlap is and could be. And like with the model that we have, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes. We don't have that long, so I have to be quick because I have a few points after that, and some of them will hopefully answer some of these, or at least you can help answer some of these. But essentially, we don't come at it feeling like we have a natural born antipathy or whatever to LLDC. It's only when we have to question how some of those resources are spent regards to public interest as well as the community interest, but public interest in general. And are you interested to hear a little bit quickly, as a rough outline of the model that we believe could be worth discussing with LLDC? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, that's all we need. Okay. So essentially, what we've got is a very simple, and I hope you can understand this as a concept. I'm absolutely sure you will. A very simple concept, which is that you guys have told us that essentially these plans date back to a decade, and you've said that's exactly why we really, or one of the very big reasons why we really can't stop this thing now. What we're saying, and if you follow the argument, is that's exactly why you should be looking at stopping this now. London is a very changing, fluid city, and that's what's amazing about it. And when it comes to it, I have absolutely no doubt, like literally no doubt, that it's ultimately possible that at the time, what you were deciding to do with that derelict, empty, dirty shell of building would be the best thing in public interest in terms of your resources, time, energy, money, every aspect of it, to make land that's not properly in use for the community, to develop it, make it better. None of us have got a problem with that thought process, and essentially that's the kind of thought process we have taught. That's what we need from development agencies or LLDC itself. But the thing is, with that comes a responsibility, especially as a public body, and especially as one that does have very different kind of external governance, if you will, compared to councils and other public bodies. And so I would say, as Hernand did in the early one, an increased responsibility to really respond to the changing needs of an area in London. And I don't think that's something you'd disagree with, is it? No. That's essentially why we're trying to talk to the chairman and you. And we're trying to come at it from an aspect of logic. And we're hoping that the logic will be heard. Our model that we want to look at with you is one where we're actually sort of putting out a hand of partnership. We are, because of some of the things we were told at the last meeting, essentially being forced into a position where we're officially pitted against you currently. But that's not really a lifestyle choice that any of us even wanted to have a month ago. It wasn't like, on our there's no personal, political, or any other kind of desire. If LLDC's resources are going towards the public interest or the community interest here, that's essentially, we'd be fine with that and we'd be supporting that. And we're not saying there aren't good things that LLDC hasn't done. But in terms of this, what we're trying to do is help you to see a better way and what we believe now. And I think it's a really hard case to prove against. That what we believe now in terms of that site has overtaken the previous best alternative use for the public interest. And what we believe now is it's something that literally is just a box tick away from you guys in terms of saying yes. At this end, all of the parts of the, all of the ingredients are in place, but all of the sort of to-do list has been ticked off already 2 years ago. So this is something that I brought up in the last meeting which there hasn't even been support for. I'll come back to that. The essential outline of the model is to take this site, to take funders who pledged that they would be sympathetically putting in money, and this is quite a few different funders involved. Some are private and some are philanthropic social businesses, social enterprises. But we've got funders that would allow for the prospect of bringing this site into community ownership and management. The site, which was quite sad that none of the LLDC representatives at the drop-in straight after the eviction notice period none of them knew that Vittoria Wharf was actually already listed as an asset of community value. We found that I had to staple that public notice to one of the comments there, but none of them knew. All of them said we thought it was just ours. Now, as an asset of community value, just so you'll know, the loss of that is officially a detriment to the community. So it does obviously quickly link to the concepts that different people have been saying about what community are you benefiting when you're saying, you're wanting to help the community. In our model, we've got a great financial foundation in terms of a really huge amount of rent that's across the whole shared listing, which is actually nearly £600,000 a year. So in terms of paying back any part of that funding, which is a mortgage, that's very doable while having quite a large amount of money to upgrade and improve the facilities. And we believe that as part of that, we can really easily take some of those work-only units and turn them into live-work, which involves housing solutions. So that's, like, as far as we're concerned, another tick. Since that ACV site listing was given its status in 2013, I mean, I've only been based in that place since 2014, and just in that time alone, I've seen that community value flourish. And that involves not just cultural aspects and events and individual success stories of different people in there, but actual outreach activity. And that's again shared across the whole site. Here where we are in Stour Space, there's work experience given to the children of, if I get the name right, Tavistock School nearby. And they host International Students Week. It's been an award. It's been in the top 5 of Time Out's East London galleries every year. And notably, it's been an international model of excellence, recognised as so in terms of creative space and shared economy. So it's had delegations from Europe, including Belgium and Denmark, but also as far as the mayor of Seoul in North Korea coming here with a delegation to see how it's done in the face of regeneration pressures. In terms of your builds over there, we essentially believe that what you're building is something that this community centre point, if you say yes and allow us to really expand on what there is, and again, it's not just in Stour Space, we've got outreach work going on, we've got like an art therapist who's invented a whole new form of therapy and just set up the first mental health gallery in London, supported by the NHS Trust, and he's also in charge of, founded a little life drawing class there that's helped people with their degrees. There's education links already, and we have a recording studio that's given absolutely free studio time plus engineering and production time and skills to local members of the community that haven't had the money to do that. And we've got kitchens where food startup groups have been given free business guidance and the most affordable workspace of its ilk to that kind of industry. That's just what it is now. Compared to what it can be, we say that we've got the skills, the will, the intelligence and the awareness to do that, and we've got great partners ready to go with us. We've also got the public support of the area, as far as I'm aware, which is really important. So, you know, when we're saying this is something that we believe, like that lady said, outweighs the arguments of the other alternative, that's what we'd like you guys to hear. And what we're saying in terms of your new builds is that if we do believe in a better society, if there are jewels which essentially this place is in terms of what it gives to the community, the space it allows for the community, for people to meet, to develop their work and to find projects of collaborations across a huge amount of disciplines, those jewels, which again, to bring in like all ethnicities and backgrounds as well, it's not something that London always has in every area, the embracing, warm, glowing model of multiculturalism that comes in that as well. There's so many aspects. But when we have those, if we want a better society, our point is that we lift those jewels up and let their glow shine on the people around them and influence the children of schools nearby and allow them in and let them like do their dance practices here and let them have education links. And in the meantime, not to be crushing these jewels. So a lot of people have brought up the consultation aspect, and we find this really painful because in the last meeting, the words consultation, your own representatives agreed to something James Durant asked in the audience. Does that basically mean the colour of the bridge, not whether the bridge should be there or not. And they nodded to the affirmative and might even said the yes out loud. It's on camera, if you like. So it's really painful for us to hear your mention of anything to do with consultation. And what we want is a truly tangible discussion where what we asked last time we felt was very reasonable, which they flatly rejected. And this is something that if you can't answer, which I understand, we'd like to take to the chairman, as I have done in the letter, but essentially to give 3 months for the moment, considering it's a project that's been 12 years and you haven't even submitted the final application, 3 months to value the concept of public interest, and have a discussion where we delay all the proceedings, and to really look at that next step and make sure that it is truly, in terms of your resources and your spends, and in terms of all parties being satisfied that this is the next step that is actually truly in the public interest. We don't think that's unreasonable, and considering the timeline of your project, I hope you don't either. It doesn't sound...
All I can say to that is that I've seen your letter to the chairman. That has had an effect, and clearly now you'd like to discuss the project in more detail, and that will happen. So that's the sort of first step, if you like, in responding to that, and I'm sure we will respond as a corporation as we should, not just kind of saying it's him or her, once you've had that session with David Evans.
Great. I think that session will be before the evictions, because it's quite important.
I think it'll be quite soon. Unfortunately, he's recovering from an operation, so I don't know.
Well,
but it will be soon. It's not kind of.
Health.
Yes,
yeah.
It's not.
We do have we are sort of essentially quite wet behind the ears at this whole thing, but luckily for us, we've had a lot of support and people that have actually, most of that press has been getting in touch with us, which is something that's been quite remarkable in terms of the support, and I think that's partly because people just get it. And a lot of the time in this cafe, and I think I asked David Edmonds to do this. I basically suggested that he does sit in that cafe, he can be incognito, and just ask random punters, point out the bridge site and say, there's a demolition of that building for a bridge over there, what do you think? And everybody does actually have pretty much the same reaction, worded differently, which is, why the hell do they need another bridge there? And I think there is actually a thing, and I don't know, I'm not a legal person, but there is a whole concept of legal principle called the Clapham Omnibus thing, I think. So I'm not going to go into this because this isn't something I know about. But there is in law, there is this concept that you can essentially look at something in court or otherwise where you've always got to take in the principle, what does the man at the top deck of the bus think of the whole thing? At the moment, we've been advised to speak to some pretty incredible people in the legal field, and it is, as I said to Tony, like forking the road. We are there. We want the positive response from you guys. We actually want that positive partnership. That is essentially our heart's desire in this thing. It's not to go in and have some kind of constant pitch battle with people that we often haven't even met yet. But we do have a lot of grounds where we're being advised that these are the sorts of grounds which will be things that need to be taken further. And I do have to just tell you about some of the things which we find very painful at the moment. But I don't know if you're aware of some of these things, and it might be that we're not at the moment.
Well, I've seen your letter. I've obviously heard what people have to say.
No, I haven't mentioned that stuff in the letter.
Haven't you? Okay, fair enough. I mean, I'm sure for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, some of this is advice I just got this weekend, and this is, like I said, it's a very new thing for us. But it was really difficult to look at the concept. Well, we were told that essentially some of the planning rules are different with LLDCs and councils, in terms of the process. And well, maybe not rules, some of the process is quite different, and certain aspects of consultation and
not at all. We operate under the same rules Same things as any other planning authority.
Okay.
Good or bad, we're bound by the same legislation, the same thing.
I'll move on from that point then, that's no problem.
We have a planning committee that makes decisions, so we don't do that sort of behind closed doors or anything like that.
Yeah.
That planning committee is composed
Okay, I've only got 3 minutes, so I get you.
Yep.
We find it, here, I'll just rifle through these. We've got essentially one very difficult area where we feel we don't quite understand what happened, which is that I've got a report recently from a massively respected engineering historian who English heritage and many councils or many lawyers already known by name, Malcolm Tucker. He actually recommended, I've got the report here if you need it, he recommended that the building, for all of its character, be added to the conservation list and the local list. Now, there was a list of buildings drawn up for those characterful buildings of the area to be added as buildings to that conservation area, specific site buildings, and that was on LLDC's list. And so we find it very hard to understand why those 2 buildings that were taken off, one of which was Vittoria Wharf, suddenly disappeared off the list. And it feels hard not to equate it with the simple goals of knocking down to build that bridge. So that's something that, we will be looking at in the meantime. There's another aspect that's quite difficult.
We'll check that as well.
Yeah, please do.
Clearly the gatehouse is one that's identified.
We understand how beautiful that building is and how there are certain aspects, but there's another bit that someone's written to me and said, the LLDC, we're going to give that part to Balfour Beatty. And as an asset of community value, this cannot be the case unless it follows the ACV community right to bid procedure, which is that they need to inform the nominating group of its intention to sell, and there'll be a moratorium period of 6 months where there can't be a sale except to the community interest group. That's the right to bid. Things sort of do add up for a delay in the meantime. And this is quite an important one. I mean, actually, this is a twofold one. And even if there's so much more to say, there's so many aspects about this. I hope you understand. We have given it a lot of thought. But there's 2 things here which I think are quite important. You've mentioned the plans going back to 2012. You've mentioned it a lot. And you're not the only one, I had to point it out to whoever was here last time that we've got letters from LLDC themselves in 2013 and 2014 showing full support in both letters, even after a year of dialogue and relationship, full support of the concept of a less developed version of the model that I just told you about. A model which we believe, by the way, that even if there are blocks and areas where we would have to navigate that stuff, there is a huge amount of intelligence in your body, and there's quite a fair bit of intelligence in us punks and hippies over there. So I'm sure we can look at it together and make a way around any of the blocks you've got. But when you've talked about this 2012 thing, not only is there the principle, and here's the other letter, by the way, in 2013, not only is there the support in principle, in full support of this model, and not only was Victoria and I actually looking at you guys even looking at your own funding of £2 million to put that towards this project, because you thought it was so good, you also recognised that this location for this bridge was, let's just put it, as far from ideal. You knew that. So you did a feasibility study in 2014. These are your words. This is about the bridge which you're about to destroy the community for.
Sorry, which study is that?
This is a feasibility study that was funded by LLDC, and there are so many other things you've funded, like Richard Brown's amazing work on the importance of these creative communities and the value they give. But we can't go into all of it. But I'll just go into this and then I'll leave. This is about this bridge. This is their study. Due to the space constraints and the desire, these are the conclusions, I think. Due to the space constraints and the desire to limit demolition, The stair design incorporated a convoluted ramp arrangement to provide DDA compliant access. The design represents a large, inefficient footprint due to the incorporation of ramps across 2 stairs. I like this next one. The design fails to provide any meaningful public realm that could take advantage of new pedestrian flows to help create a sense of vitality and vibrancy in the immediate area, and does not stitch into the street network of Hackney, Wick and Fish Island. And the last one is, the bridge removes possible access to Vittoria Wharf from the south and Foreman's Restaurant and Smokery from the north. Essentially, you were looking at an alternative design because you could see that it just wasn't the greatest idea. And we're trying to tell you from a lot of other angles right now, it's not the greatest idea in the first place, but it's even less so considering what there is now and what it can actually do for the value of the community nearby. So that's pretty much what I say. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. That's quite a few hours of